So when my friend called me up and told me he bought this Pierre Gabriel Grandmaster speaker, I was like, what the hell is that speaker? Whatever, you know. Then he came over, he showed me a photo of it. That's when I go like, all right, I gotta come check it out. All right, guys, check this out. All right, do you see how tall it is compared to me? Right? So what is the what's the suggested price? I just touched a $60,000 speaker. I'm not gonna wash my hand for 3 days, okay?
So my friend here only uses CD-ROM. He doesn't use computer, and what he have here is a Moon Supernova CD player. It's about 6,000 when it was new, and I lent him my Lin Unidisc. I think that's what it is. That was about 11,000 at the time to compare, right? So something from yesteryear compared to something from yesterday. I wanted to see how much of a gap there is. Now, for him, he prefers the Moon. He finds it having a bit more dynamic range. Um, and apparently, this CD-ROM is really good. I have another friend who had it. Yeah, they're really good. I mean, but I think about it, $6,000 for a CD player. I mean, it's a bit steep, right? So let's move on to the preamp. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance for repeating stuff that I've mentioned in my previous video because I think it's relevant for this specific video. Now, I'm going to talk about DIY versus brand name. Now, for over the years, I've been trying to find the ultimate equipment that can perform outside its price bracket, meaning that $1,000 preamp performing like a $5,000 preamp. I'm telling you right now, it does not exist. Everything that's brand name is priced correctly. A $3,000 speaker will not outperform a $10,000 speaker, right? $300 speaker will not outperform a $1,000 speaker. It might do it for some very specific thing. For example, the ELAC UB5 can image as well as maybe a $3,000 speaker, but that's about it. It doesn't do everything as well, and that's the experience I have. The only exception to the rule is DIY. Having a mad scientist build stuff in his garage and sell it on the internet. Of course, the risk is big, right? I mean, it can be either very, very good or very, very bad. So my friend here had this guy build him the preamp and the amp. Of course, he did his proper research. He looks at feedback for this specific person in Vancouver. I'll see if I can link the company's name. And he looks at feedback from people who are experts, right? People who play with very high-end gear. So he had the Moon 900, I think 900 integrated amp, and he wanted a bit more. So he hired this person to build him this preamp and amp. Cost him, I think, $12,000. Now think about that for a second. A DIY system like this costing $12,000. Does it perform like a $40,000-$50,000 system? I don't have a lot of experience listening to system in the 40,000 zone, right? But I mean, just the preamp amp. I have mostly in 10,000 and in maybe 100,000, but nothing in between. So I don't know what to compare to. But I can tell you, it definitely can compete easily with anything that's in the 10,000 zone. So for him, he really likes it, and it's very special. If you look at the tubes on the preamp, it uses KT150. Usually you find that in the amp, right? KT150. And it uses EL32. He ordered a rectifier for his preamp, and that uses the 805 tubes. It's a bit special too. Now, for his power amp, it uses 6S and 7 tubes and 300B tubes. That's a hybrid. So you have the solid state section, you have the tube section. It's produced about 100 watts. It's needed, right, to drive speakers of this size. And then you have the rectifier for the power amp. Those use two 300B tubes. Then you have the fancy power cable. I mean, it looks like a box. He had two of them. And then he has this bass management unit. I forgot what tube he uses though. So very interesting system. So with a system like that, you better have a speaker that is very efficient. But look at the size of these speakers. You expect it to be very difficult to drive, but they're 95 dB. These are very easy to drive speakers. In fact, we're quite surprised at how easy it is. So how do you talk about a speaker that is $60,000? Does it image well? Does it sound good? Does it have good bass? I mean, duh. I mean, at this price range, everything sounds good, right? It does everything good. Well, it should do everything good. So it's actually very difficult to talk about a speaker of this caliber, right? And so instead, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on some things that pop out to me. There's no point going to a detailed review. I mean, it's not like anybody's gonna buy the speaker. There's only 8 made in the world. So I'll just focus on its strength. First thing that I notice is the vocals, the mids, right? I like sweet vocals, and for me, the Harbeths had fantastic. Some of the Dying Audios, the Katanas, but this isn't a league of its own. When you deal with high-end speakers, there's this contradiction. How would I explain it? How can a speaker be both rolled off and extreme detail? Right? I mean, this is what I'm hearing. It is very smooth, very, very musical, and yet very, very detailed. You can listen to 10 hours of these speakers, no problem. It's like saying also, how can a speaker be both musical and audiophile? Right? Because if you look at my past video, I separate them. Audiophile speakers are what you can just break down the song, analyze all the detail, pick the song apart, while musical speakers are really pleasant to the ear, very enjoyable to listen. So it's either one or the other. Yes, you can argue that your speaker has both, right? Well, at least in my experience, having heard so many different speakers at different level, I classify them that way, right? So with high-end speaker like this, it can be both musical and audiophile at the same time. I don't hear many speakers like that. Only very, very expensive speakers. Of course, my scale here, my baseline is not realistic, right? 70,000, 50,000, 100,000 speakers. I mean, you'll have to forgive me in that sense, right? Another thing quite amazing about these speakers is the bass. So when we talk about bass, for me, bass is very difficult to get. Good bass is very, very difficult to get. You can argue, well, my 70-watt amplifier with my serving Vega will give me tons of bass, right? Yeah, it'll give you chest pounding bass, but that's about it. Good bass is very difficult to get, and I know that because I heard very high-end systems, and because I heard the high-end system, that's where I understood that it is very difficult to get. So for me, bass, you need 5 things, right? Even the Focal Katana that I heard at the audio show, as good as the bass was, there's still things that it cannot do. So for me, bass has to be fast and tight. It has to be punchy, chest pounding, right? Like the Serene Vegas. And the bass have to go very low. It has to have definition and layer so you can hear what instrument's playing, right? As opposed to a subwoofer just going boom. And above all, it has to be effortless. Now, why is it important that the bass have to go very low, right? Because people might confuse the bass going very low and punchy bass. Because I remember I heard the song Sarah McLachlan. Gosh, I can't pronounce it. McLachlan. The song Angel. Now, people don't usually test bass with a song like this, right? I mean, it's a slow song. The reason why I use that song to test bass is because I once heard it on a very high-end system. In the beginning of the song, you have a grand piano. If you play on your own system right now and all you hear is a piano, then I can tell you your bass is not complete. You're supposed to feel the presence of a grand piano. I remember hearing it, the floor was not shaking, but I can feel the vibration coming through the carpet. And you can feel the mass of the piano in front of you. And that's when I realized, wow, bass, when done right, even though the floor is shaking, feels so good. It's just amazing. That's all I can say. So for a system like this, right, you have so many woofers. What I notice is that it is effortless. We were playing songs, the volume setting at around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and it was enough. And it was very punchy. We're like, how does it do it? I mean, it's just 100 watt driving it, but we can feel the pressure, and we're playing at 8 or 9 o'clock, right? And it goes very low. Now, I didn't get a chance to test is it fast and tight, but definitely you'll hear all the layers. And definition for sure, you hear it. I mean, you can pick apart the song. So we didn't get to test it at high volume because of the room size, right? And that's what's interesting about an effortless speaker. You don't need loud volume to listen to it. Just a bit of volume and it's enough. Of course, my friend is researching room acoustic right now. Look at the size of these speakers. Yes, you need room treatment, so he's working on that. But just for listening like that, I mean, I can live with it, like without doing much to the room, because you can play it at extreme low volume and there's plenty of energy coming through. So I guess I'll wrap it up at this point. And oh, I forgot to mention he has these Furotech plug on the wall. He's a bit demanding when it comes to power, so that's why he has all these fancy cable. I'm not even going to go into the interconnects and the speaker cables. Yeah, they're fancy. So my only ask is that, guys, I mean, if you're gonna put a comment, be nice. I mean, this is not a system that me as a normal income person can relate to, right? I mean, it was very nice of him to let me make a video of it, and I wanted to share and try to explain as much as I can as a, what do I hear as a normal person, right? It's not something that I get to listen to all the time. I mean, I can make a more detailed video on it, after maybe listening to it 10 times. But I was really excited about it, so I really wanted to share quickly. I mean, I heard it yesterday, and I'm already making the video today. All right, guys, comments, questions, till next time.